Hi, if you've come to this video, this probably means you want to get better at sight reading. And before I explain to you how this app really genuinely is way better than any other method that I've ever come across, I'm going to show you the reason why your sight reading probably isn't amazing or could be better. So take these notes here. This is how most of my students would read this. And by most of my students, I'm including not just beginners, but even some of my most advanced students, ones learning advanced Rachmaninoff, advanced Chopin, that kind of stuff. So this is how most of my students would read it. They would read the note C. And don't worry if you play a different instrument that doesn't use treble clef. This applies to all instruments. They'd go the note C. And then when they get to this note here, they wouldn't just go, you just go up one note. It's almost as if this note here, the first note, just stopped existing. And they'd go D. Then they'd go E, and then they'd look at this one as if they had no idea that the first note was exactly the same, and they'd go C, D, and everything is just about seeing each note on its own with no relationship to any of the other notes, just C, D, E, C, D, B. This is not a great way to sight read. So the way that I would sight read and the way that good sight readers do it is you know what the first note is. You have to go, okay, that's C. Then you just go up one. Then you just go up one. And then here, you could either think of this one as either going down two, or it's just the same note as the first note. And then you've got going up one. You can either think of the next one as going down two, or it's the one below the note that you started on and below the fourth note. You know, this is how good people sight read. It's about seeing the relationships and the patterns between the notes, not labeling every single note and reading every single note as if none of them were connected to each other. This is revolutionary. This is how you get good at sight reading. Now, as far as I'm aware, I've never come across any apps that train you to do this. What most apps do is they give you flashcards and go, what's this note? This note is C. This note is G. This note is F. But they don't teach you to start going, well, you just go up one, you just go down two. So that's what my app does. It's been adapted from something that someone showed me a long time ago. And what this was you used a whiteboard with magnets and you put all the magnets on one note, and just reading one note is super easy. You only have to know it once and you just read each one over and over, except that each time you go through it, you move one of the notes up or down. So, you know, it's like, you go through it, you can move this one. And then once you've done all of those, you move another note. And this becomes quite an easy way for anyone to learn to sight read. So if you're a complete beginner and you imagine you learn how to read one note, as long as you're reasonably comfortable with just playing a simple scale, you know how to go up and down the scale, you can just be like C, 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 C. And in that time, I would have moved one very gently at first. So that by the time you get back, you go C, D, C, C, C. And then perhaps I might move one of them down here. And then you'd have C, D, C, 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 B, C. And so anyone, a complete beginner who's never read music before, very, very quickly, because you do this very gradually at first, before you know it, they are reading music and it is like completely magical. So I've adapted this and made an app out of it. And honestly, I've not come across a better way of doing this because it teaches you to notice all these horizontal relationships. And then it's not just for beginners either. If you're advanced, you can set it up to use loads of ledger lines. So for example, I can set it to use 4 ledger lines. And then it's going to test me with all of those, just doing one at a time. So it's for all instruments. And also you can use bass clef. And you've got all the movable C clefs. You just drag and drop this C clef. So it's incredibly versatile, very, very powerful. So just imagine what it would feel like if you could sight read. And instead of being C, G, F, and so on and so on, if instead of staring at each individual note, finding it challenging, being exhausted and going C, G, D, F, all that kind of stuff, imagine if you just looked at it and you just play it instantly because you see it, you hear it, you feel it. It just happens automatically. This is what proper sight reading feels like. And this is how this app is going to help you develop that, by seeing patterns and relationships where you just stop labeling the individual notes. It's like learning to read a language. You know, imagine that you want to read "The cat sat on the mat" and you're going "t, her, K. Now, in the very beginning, you have to do that, but as soon as possible, you want to start just seeing words and just immediately being able to go the cat instead of t, her, Most of you who are watching this are probably still doing the musical equivalent of t, her, k, at, s, at. Whereas if you use this app, let's just get this going a little bit. It just sort of gently helps you to get into that more holistic way of seeing it, where you're not just staring at individual notes, working them out one by one, but seeing the relationship between them. So let me just give you a sort of very quick example of this. And we go C, 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 C. Dum, 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 da, 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 da. And can you see how da, da, da? This is going to gently, and that's way faster than you're probably going to want to do it, by the way. So it just very gently helps you to see all these relationships and build good habits. And as you get better and better at this, and if you are a more advanced musician, there are plenty of settings in here where you can actually just really make it test you with much more difficult intervals and much more difficult stuff. And for example, I can even move the notes around and start with completely different starting pitches if you really want to challenge yourself. And you can also use it for absolutely any instrument, because not only can you set the clef, treble, bass, movable C, but you can also edit the note range. So as you can see here at the moment, this is the note range on the left-hand side at the moment, which wouldn't be ideal for all instruments. So if you wanted to change that note range, you just go into here and you just move these handles around, and then that tells you the note range that you want to work with. And this will also apply if you're a beginner. You might only want to have a very small note range, such as that. And then this is a very small note range that you're going to start with. And then when you start your playback, when you start playing along with it, it is only going to give you those 5 notes. I've also given you some presets. So if we go into the note range page, you can have the range of a guitar. You can have basically first position of a violin or first position of a cello. I've also given you the recommended ranges that you should start with if you're a pianist. So for the left hand, these 5 notes is your recommended range. And if we go back in there, for the right hand, this is also your recommended range, which if you're learning from any method book for beginners, that'll be really, really familiar to you. There is also a setting for singers, because it's incredibly useful for singers to be able to sight sing with this. So not only can you choose from soprano, mezzo, alto, tenor, baritone, and bass, but it also gives you the option to have a preview pitch, if you want to call it that, which is that if I enable this and then go back to the play, before it starts to test me, I need to know what that first note is going to sound like. So when I press start, it's going to play me the sound of that first note. Then I get the count in, la, 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 and so on and so on. And I do recommend to most people that you're going to want to take it slower than that. But this is incredibly useful. And so many studies have shown that good sight readers have the ability to audiate, which is to imagine the sound. So even if you're not a singer, it's incredibly useful to use this in singing mode, have the pitch preview so you hear the first note, and then test yourself. Can I sing this away from my instrument? Because if you can do that, your ability to sight read at your instrument is going to be so much better. Plus, this is how I would recommend you get good at aural tests. If you can look at sheet music and hear it in your head, you can do any aural test. So if you'd like to check out this app, you can go to sightreadingfluency.com. And on that page, you're going to get some information. You can also click on guide, and that will give you a tutorial for how all of this works. But more importantly, if you click on try NoteFluent at the top of that page, it will take you for the page for NoteFluent, the app. And then this is where you can check it out. So absolutely encourage you to go check it out for free. One really important thing is that it's only going to give you a limited number of cycles round, which is 5. And that's not enough, but you can make a free account. If you go to login, you click on register, and then you just set up an account. You're going to need to verify your account with an email address. But once you've done that, it then gives you the ability to have as many cycles as you want. It's all free. You don't have to give any credit card info. And so then once you log in, It gives you this dashboard. It shows you how much practice you've been doing in a graph. And as you can see, I've not been very good at using it because I've been too busy developing it. But there would be a nice graph here of what you've been doing over the last 7 days. It gives you a streak so that, you know, if you use it every single day, you can see how long you've been keeping your streak going for. It's nice motivation. And most importantly, it saves all your settings for you. So if you close it down and then come back to it, you've still got all the same notes. You've got all the settings, the same clef, the same note range, and so on and so on. So that's incredibly useful. So there are going to be plenty more videos showing you how this works and showing you how to use it, and more advanced videos to give you tips on how to really get the most out of it. So if you're interested, please do click on like and subscribe and click on the bell icon to know when future videos come out. There are also loads of videos on this channel. I'm a piano teacher. I also do teach guitar and violin, but this channel is mainly about piano. So I encourage you to go watch some of my other videos. I talk a lot about the psychology of learning the piano, but also there's much more traditional videos on how to learn the piano. So take care, goodbye, happy practicing.